guys. Kieran, thank you for welcoming us into your shop, and this Meyersdal area is actually quite a nice one with a mug and bean and everything here. You can do some shopping, and Mom can actually sit and have a breakfast or something.
Yeah, Mom can even go down to Sorbet downstairs and then gives you a whole hour in the store.
Oh, okay. Basic bass tackle. I'm here to just get a basic setup. Let's start with rod and reels. What do you recommend?
100%. So the first thing we need to remember with bass fishing is that we have two main facets of bass fishing. We've got our spinning angling and we've got our casting angling. So depending on what sort of technique you're going with, generally your spinning tends to be your more finessey baits and presentations, where your casting is your heavier and faster moving bait presentations. So depending on the type of fishing that you want to be doing, you'd be looking at either spinning or casting from there.
From a budget point of view as well, getting into it, not breaking the bank completely. If I go a little bit spinning and a little bit casting, one of each type of thing to start with, do you think I can get away with most types of fishing? Can I catch some fish with a spinning and a casting setup?
Absolutely. So what you'll see in our store, majority of our rods and reels actually cater for the general fisherman. So when it comes to bass angling, we've got hundreds of different techniques that we can do. And yes, there are specific rods for specific techniques. However, 80% of what Tackle Cabin carries in stock at any given time is for the general angler. So it's a rod that can do 90% of what you're looking for. If you take a typical bass casting setup, you're going to be looking at about a 7 to 7'2", medium heavy fast action. And that's going to be good for light cranking, basic spinner baits, top water buzz baits, your Texas rigs, all that kind of stuff. However, where a rod like that doesn't meet the criteria is if you're punching heavy weeds or heavy lilies, you know, you're out at Rest of Winter punching in the salad bowl with a 1.5 ounce lead to get it through, you're gonna come a bit short of the medium.
But that's
heavy.
not basic fishing, eh?
But that's not basic fishing.
That's a little bit of
100%.
specialist, and if you're on these, I remember when I'm with Justy on the boat, I mean, there's like, for every single specific pattern, there's a different rod.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to go there.
Absolutely.
I just want to take two rods and go fishing.
There's no need to go there either. Okay. In terms of tournament angling and just general social bank bashing, or even out on a boat, there's generally not a massive time crunch. Now, in terms of tournament angling, we only have set amounts of times. On my boat, I'm going out with 25 to 30 rods. I'll have 3 rods set up exactly the same way with 3 different color baits. Now, we'll find which color is working, and in a bit of downtime, we'll be rigging all 3 rods with the same thing. So if we have a break off or a bait's broken, I'll put that rod down and pick up the next one. We're not wasting
because
time.
you don't have time.
100%.
But if I put out my carp rods and I want to go a little bit fishing,
then you're just throwing it around on the bank. You know, you do not need hellishly expensive gear. You do not need a hell of a lot of gear either. And that's what we'll get into today.
If I want to throw in, I'm also I also like the streams, the rivers, and I like yellowfish fishing with little cranks and so on. Do you have a setup that I can use for bass fishing and for yellowfish?
Absolutely. So in terms of those kind of fishing techniques, definitely you're going to be aiming towards your spinning setup. So what we can look at for you today would be a spinning setup that is good for bass, good for your yellow stream fishing, and even works really well for light tackle in the surf.
And grunters and things like that off the boat.
Absolutely. And you know what we've put aside for you today is, funny enough, the same rod that a certain Mr. Foxcroft caught a 37 kilo carbon.
Oh, okay. So I presume it's a Prorex or something.
Absolutely. So we've got the Prorex rod and reel combo here.
Is it this
setup? It is a fantastic setup. That is it over there. We've got it ready to go for you. We've got it spooled up with your 8-pound braid. The 4,000 size reel is super versatile. You can use that for things like light drop shotting, with a 3-gram lead weight to, like we said, catching 37 kilo carp. It's good for popping for barbel. It is probably one of the most versatile ranges that we carry in
And
the
if you
store.
spool it light, it will cast a mile.
Absolutely.
So with this setup, I can actually fish weightless as well.
You can definitely fish weightless, but yeah, like I said, anything from, you're going to be looking at about a total casting weight of about 4 to 5 grams, probably safely all the way up to about an ounce, which is around 30 grams.
I've seen you've selected the 25. Is it for more versatility?
So this is the medium light. It is the most versatile rod in the 3-rod range. So we've got an ultralight, we've got a medium light, and we've got a light. The medium light is your general purpose, do everything rod. It's pretty much your Swiss Army knife of spinning rods, and then the same with the reel. We could have gone smaller, either the 2000 or the 2500, but because you're looking for versatility, you're looking for a do-it-everything, the 4000 is definitely the way to
Perfect. I'm happy, I'll take this one.
go. 100%.
What are we doing on casting?
So now this is my favorite part of bass fishing. I love casting fishing. Where we're going with this is we've looked at, obviously budget is important here. And we've got rods that we can sell to you for 15,000 Rand a rod and reels for 10,000 Rand a reel, but that's not what we're looking for today.
And that's not my budget.
It's not mine either. What we've gone for is, for me personally, the rod is only about 30% of the overall package when you're looking for a general purpose setup. The most important thing that you're going to be fishing with is your reel and your line, your direct connection to the fish. So what we've done, we've gone for a slightly higher end reel, and I'm not going to say a lower end rod, but definitely lower on the price point of the rod. And what we've chosen is the Crossfire E-Series rod. It's a 7-foot medium heavy, and we've gone with the Daiwa PR100 reel. So it's your stock standard 100 size casting reel. It will take 120 meters of 12-pound line. It's a 6:3 to 1 ratio. It's a good to do everything
Pretty
setup.
fast, you can do plastics and everything.
Absolutely, a lot of guys tend to go for your 8 ratios when fishing soft plastics. I'm not the biggest fan of that because it's easier to speed up your retrieve than to slow it down. And the other thing with the 6:3 is you can also use it to throw your lightweight cranks. And your
It's got
lightweight,
enough cranking power.
not just so much the cranking power, but the retrieve speed. You can get into a nice rhythm without burning it too fast. And you're getting the action on that bait at a nice tempo. And yeah, I fish generally, most of my reels are between 6 and 7 ratios. I think on my boat of my 25 rods is only 2 or 3 eighths. And those are for, your big heavy things. When I'm punching reeds, you've got to get that bait in there, but you also have to get it out
fast.
And that is why we use the heavy ratios, well, the fast ratios
Okay.
with that type of technique.
100%. So just in terms of price range, what are we talking here for this setup, Rita?
So your price range on the reel, you're looking, if I'm not mistaken, is about 1,000 to 1,100 Rand on the reel. And the rod comes in at a very, very affordable, in the region of about 500 Rand for the rod.
Okay, so for spooled and everything, less than 2 grand, I'm sorted with that.
Absolutely, and for your 2 grand, depending if you're going fluorocarbon or monofilament, you can even get yourself a few baits and terminal tackle pieces for that.
That's the part I like. So let's get some baits so that we can actually fish. I'm happy with these two, I'm taking these two. And let's get some baits.
Perfect, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to our local resident store manager. His name is Rob. Unfortunately, I'm not the one that gets to go fishing all the time. Rob's got half days and weekends that he can enjoy the waters at, so he's the guy who knows exactly what the fish are biting on. He's also the guy in store chatting to all our customers. He's going to be definitely the guy to get you the right baits.
Well, we're going to get Robston out to help us with the baits, and I'm going to ask him just to give me a general selection so that I can do most of the things at this is the important part, at a good price. And I want it all to fit in one shoulder bag and that's it. So I must be able to pick up 2 rods, shoulder bag, full of baits, must have hooks, everything in, and I must go fishing. So let's go talk to Rob. Okay, Rob, thank you. Oh, firstly I must say I'm quite impressed with what you have here. It's not a big store, but it's so full.
Yeah, we do our best to carry as much as we can without having to carry everything from everyone, rather.
No, it's great. I'm quite impressed, and you put together a nice selection for us. So tell us what you chose and why.
Right, so starting with the basics, starting with our hooks, rather. We've gone for 3 different sizes of EWGs. Those 3 different sizes will cater for almost every type of plastic that we can possibly offer you. Going from your flukes to your toads, to your worms, to your creature baits, your craws, paddle tails, everything in between. Like I said, those 3 sizes of hooks, you've got a 2.0, 3.0 and a 4.0. That should cover 99% of what I have on the table here next to me.
Okay, great.
Another great little option is a wacky or a Nico hook. This is a Titan X from Mustad. And again, any kind of finesse application, whether you're using a drop shot, a wacky rig, a Nico rig, or something along those lines, that hook would be perfect for that scenario.
Okay, good. I see that you also had other hooks there with little weights on.
Yes, so another nice little epic little finessey little bait, will go very nicely on your Pro Rig setup, is a stock standard little Ned rig. These hooks are quite cool because weight's obviously on the bottom, but the line tie is slightly off canter, so it makes the bait stand up dead straight. You pair that with a floating bait or any kind of less dense plastic that's going to stand itself up. There's going to be an incredible little bait.
Nice little presentation.
Yeah.
And you can work it.
Correct. Work it nice and slow. You can drag it, you can hop it, you can swim it. Plenty to be done with that little hook.
Perfect. On the hooks, with those hooks I can do any type of rig. I can do California, Texas.
Correct, so you can do your Carolinas, you can do your Texas rigs.
Carolina, California.
But obviously with those kind of rigs you do need weights. As a general bank basher, as a guy who's looking to stick to your budget kind of things, your lead weights are definitely the way to go. Your more tournament guys, your regular weekend, or not really weekend, but your regular once a week fishermen, they would more likely go for tungsten. Tungsten is a lot more dense, it's a lot smaller, it's a lot harder, you get a lot more sensitivity out of it. But with all those perks comes an even worse price tag. It's probably about 5 to 10 times more the price of lead. And I mean, as an everyday bank basher, the reaction lead weights will be more than sufficient to get you going.
And from the boat I can...
From the boat as well?
3 different
yeah, 3 different sizes. I've got the 3/16th, I've got the...
8 3/16th and quarter.
1/8, 3/16th and quarter, yes. And along with those, for your different types of rigs, you're going to need your stoppers. These are just our local house brand stoppers. And yeah, with those you can conquer the world.
Just a quick question on that. Texas and Carolina, when do I use what?
So Texas rig, you kind of want to keep it towards your heavy earth structure or your long casts. So the difference between a Texas and a Carolina rig is where the weight is on that line. Texas rig, or weighted Texas rig that is the weight is right up against the bait, whether it's pegged or not, so it's completely up to you. If you're casting into structure like your reeds, your bushes, your trees, you want to keep that thing pegged, else you're going to get quite snaggy. If you're making long casts onto open banks or open tabletops, flats, things like that, then you can take that peg off and you can let that weight slide up and down, and as that bait hits the bottom, the weight's obviously going to hit first, and that last little 2-3 feet of the plastic falling is just going to be a nice little natural fall as opposed to going straight down with the weight. In terms of a Carolina, or what us South Africans call a mojo rig, is your weight is separated from the bait. So like I said, and pegged. So like I said, the last little bit of last little foot or two with your plastic falling, it's going to be very natural. And the more you work it, generally the bait goes up instead of staying down. Again, very, very finessey technique. Very nice around grass, very nice around rocky points, very nice around drop-offs. Anything where the bait, you want it to fall naturally still, like a weightless plastic, but it's in 10 feet or so. So to get that bait to sink is going to take much longer than not using a mojo rig.
Okay, good. So in terms of the plastics that goes with those 2 rigs, what do we have?
Countless baits. I mean, in the world of soft plastics, there is nothing that isn't available at the moment.
I've seen there's aisles and aisles full of it.
Correct. Whether it's a big creature bait, a big worm, a tiny little fluke, there's countless variations. So
Just give us 2 or 3 pointers in terms of what categories. Otherwise, we will be able to sit here for the whole day and talk.
correct. We can
Just
take up
give
the
us a
entire
couple-
episode just on the plastics.
Yeah.
So your general go-tos are definitely going to be a stick bait of sorts. Right here I've got the ET Secret 5-inch fat sticks. Any kind of stick bait will do. Most of them are pretty much the same. Very controversial topic, but we won't get into that. Another local brand, fantastic product, and it catches fish left, right and center. Next crucial bait you're going to need is a fluke. Now I've got the floating reaction fluke from the Kingfisher here, both the floating and the standard sinking one. Both of them work incredibly. If I'm throwing a Carolina rig or a Mojo rig, I'm definitely putting a floating bait on the back just for that bit more natural action. Otherwise, if I'm just fishing weightless, then my stock standard reaction fluke is the way to go.
Now, the way I remember it is the blue packets are floating, that's in the water, and the red and green, that's like earthy color, so that's on the floor. This one is floating.
Absolutely, that's a good way to remember.
I have.
Apart from those two plastics, you do have your creatures or your craws, and over here I've got the McCraw from McCarthy, and I've got the chubby craw from Reaction Baits. Again, awesome little baits. You can throw these on a Ned rig, you can throw these on a Carolina rig, Mojo rig, Texas rig, anything like that. You can even throw these weightless. If you're looking for a nice little finesse top water, don't be shy to throw that as a little finesse top water.
A lot of action on this side.
A lot of action, yeah. So we've got the McCraw's got a lot of appendage movement, whereas the chubby craw has basically none, which is a much better wintertime, colder water, more finicky style bait to throw.
Okay, perfect. Good. And this goes with that special little.
Yeah, so obviously
hook of yours.
your Ned rig baits generally is a floating bait. These Ned Zone from X Zone. You've got your standard plastic, but in the ball at the bottom is an air pocket, so it stands
so
itself
it'll
up. So you don't really need a Ned rig head. You can throw it on a standard Texas rig, but the most ideal way to throw it is definitely on a Ned rig.
Because it also, in terms of where that weight sits, and
Correct.
the fact that it's integrated into the hook.
Correct.
Okay, I understand that.
And then going from the complete bottom to the complete top, we've got two different types of frogs here. We got the ET Secret Frog Junior, and we've got the Reaction Stretch Putter. I went with the putter because of the boot tail as opposed to the crawl style legs on the ET Frog Junior. And it's just two different presentations. Your Frog Junior is going to give you a nice consistent paddle along the top, whereas your boot style, which is the floating putter, will give you a much more erratic action, throw a lot more water, and just make a menacing meal for a nice little bass.
Okay. Good. Okay, and then there's some other bladey stuff.
Plenty of hard baits to choose from. My definite go-to in terms of moving bait is the spinner baits. I mean, we've got two fantastic little colors here. It's olive white and chartreuse whites from Adrenaline. In terms of the spinner baits, these guys are ½ ounce and they are stupidly affordable as opposed to other spinner baits. These guys fly off our shelves and it's just straight up fish catcher because they work.
Just a question in terms of the Willow versus Colorado. Why did you select these?
So Willow versus Colorado, the Willow is going to turn a lot faster than a Colorado. A Colorado is going to give you that consistent thumping. Thumping is what the guys say in terms of the blades turning.
Displaces more water.
Displaces a lot more water, that is correct. So your Willow blades are a lot more versatile where you can get them in and out of structure, no problem. You can make long casts with them. It's not like a Colorado blade where it tends to turn the blades into the wind. And that could cause a little bit of a backlash if you're not paying attention, but
So from an all-round perspective, it's better.
Correct. But if you're looking for slow rolling, deep 10, 15, 20 foot of water, Colorado blades are definitely going to do you a bit more justice.
I see that you've also selected with the yellow one two colors of the
blades.
silver and the.
Yeah, so a lot of the bait fish in the States and in Japan and stuff, they throw a lot of silver. So your shad, your gizzard shad, your other little baits like that. And unfortunately, we don't have that. We got a lot of Kerpa and tilapia, so we flash a lot of purple and a lot of gold. So ideally, you're looking for a gold blade, but in the same sense, as long as it's flashing, you're going to have plenty of attraction for the bass to come eat it.
Okay.
As we're continuing down the line, we've got a nice little inline spinner. Now, if you haven't thrown an inline spinner, you haven't gone fishing before. Everyone's grown up on an inline spinner.
And you catch everything.
You catch everything, whether it be bass, Kerpa, yellowfish, bass, barbel, the works.
And if there's trout, it takes it. It doesn't go down well, but if you don't know it's there and you if you want to know if there's trout in the water.
Yes, trout will absolutely annihilate these.
Yeah.
And it's a fish catching machine. This is like the OG bait. I don't know of many people who haven't thrown an inline spinner in their life.
Okay. Yellows.
Almost anything. A couple more fun things is a nice little chatterbaits, a bladed jig. This is the bladed jig from Reaction Lures, and I've chosen this over a lipless crankbait. Again, another very controversial topic, because you can throw this in and around structure a lot better than what you can with a lipless crankbait. It's a lot more weedless, you get pretty much the same action, and I feel that the hookups stay hooked a lot better than what a lipless crankbait would.
And you can actually run it pretty close to the surface.
You can control the depth of this just by letting it sink, or your ratio of retrieve, etc., etc. Like your 6-speed that you acquired not so long ago is perfect for throwing this, because you can, like Kieran said, you can speed up your retrieve to get up in the water column, or you can keep it nice and consistent and keep it down. A couple more hard baits. We got 3 different types of jerk baits. Now, after the inline spinner, the next best thing for catching multiple species is the jerk bait. We've got a 75, we've got a 90, and we've got a 110. Now these guys are straight fish catching machines. Color does not really matter on these guys. It's just that erratic action that the fish just love, and they hone in, they see it, and they just want to eat it.
Are they all suspending, or are they?
So I've got my 2 reaction lures. They are slow floaters, and the Yozeri over here is definitely a suspender. The slow floaters are definitely your summertime kind of action, where you're working it quick and you want to get those fish going
Down
erratic.
and then leave it a bit.
Correct.
How is the bite on the paws, or how important is the paws?
It depends on the time of year. In summer, when the fish are very active, you can almost work these like a crankbait. Just that flash or that little burst of color that the fish sees, they want to eat it. Whereas in winter, when the fish are a lot more slower, they're a lot more lethargic, and they're not really willing to eat, that's when the suspender comes into play. And you can jerk, pause, and on that pause you can leave it for 30 seconds to a minute sometimes before they even look at it. I mean, I've had fish where I've cast a jerk bait out, worked it down to my depth, and I've left it. I've had a sandwich, had a drink of coffee, and I reeled up, and there's a fish on the end. It just all depends on how they're feeling on that day.
But pause is always important.
Pause is very important, especially in the colder weather. Then we come over to our crankbaits, our lip crankbaits that is. Now I've chosen 2 very different depths in terms of crankbaits, which is a stock standard square ball, and I've got a nice deep diving crankbait here which goes down to about 18 feet. Now your square ball, very good for rocks, very good for grass, very good for trees and shallow banks.
Because of the deflection.
Because of the deflection. The way that ball is shaped, it just deflects off everything very nicely. And again, very nice reaction baits, very nice, very good bite that can come off of these, because yeah, there's a bit of rattle in there. Very structure related bite, like I said. And the fish generally come out in ambush, and it's just fish on once you find them.
Also very good for the yellows. I've fished those in Taum for bass, and every 3rd fish is larger.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yellow.
So I personally haven't caught a yellow off of a square ball yet, but I'll give that a try. Sorry, the deep diving crankbaits.
Yeah.
So deep diving crankbaits, I throw these a lot more than what I throw the square balls, because I like fishing deep, especially when I'm on my boat. Like you want to take your bag and jump on the boat and off you go. So that to me is quite a staple in my fishing arsenal. One last little hard bait is your popper. Again, early morning, late evening, one of the most addictive bites on the planet. Little popper, whether it's your yellows, your barbel, your bream, your kerper, bass, anything in between will definitely eat that, no problem.
Have you ever hit on or struck on a popper before it actually took it, when it comes up?
I have,
Watching
many times. Because when you're fishing low light conditions, you can't quite see your popper completely or very well. So you just see the swirls and the splashes as they come around it. So on many occasions, yes, I have set the hook when there's nothing on there.
Coming out.
Correct. Wow. Correct.
Okay. And then I see you added a couple of other utensils, important things to have on your bag.
Absolutely. So in bags, you're definitely going to need a pair of pliers for unhooking fish and yourself if you're very unlucky. It's also very nice because if you've got a little tweak on your reel or your rod or something, you can use the pliers to just bend it back into place or tighten or loosen. And a quality pair of braid scissors, always needed.
Yep.
When you're throwing that 10 pound or 8 pound J braid, it is impossible to get to with your teeth or with a pair of clippers. So a proper pair of scissors is the way to go for sure. And personally, the most important thing in any kind of fishing bag is your sunblock. I know of many anglers who have unfortunately are no longer able to fish because of problems in terms of sun. So sunblock is definitely the best and the most important thing in your tackle box. Protection.
Rob, thanks a lot. Let's pack the bag and go fishing.
100%.
Thanks for good service. Love it.